Let's talk about survival. The last video was about a situation of, let's say, survival during the child abuse, which was probably very, how to say, very extreme. I talked about um, assault and what a child might be able to do to survive, which a lot of people who never went through these things will find quite quite extreme. And this video is going to concentrate on the situation after the survivor freed him or herself from the abuse, and I want to talk about the subject, the symptoms a survivor has to manage. I don't want to say, I don't want to frame it in a negative way. Like problems a survivor might have, because it's all a framing thing. It's an attitude thing. Um, PTSD has quite substantial symptoms, and there are ways to, how to say, to not despair when you have these. And I wrote down some things that I learned to do, and it's from my perspective. So I might have forgotten some symptoms which you might have as a survivor. So this is probably not going to be 100% exhaustive, but it should give you an idea and maybe some tips and tricks and motivations what you can do to manage symptoms. So this video is going to be about management of PTSD after the fact of the abuse. I try to learn a little how to improve these videos, because I'm not very satisfied with the quality. But I'm not a professional. I'm just one person who tries to share what I have learned, what you could learn from to make your life a little bit better, to find happiness faster than I have been capable of, and just ignore the unprofessional aspects of this video. I know some aspects might be cringy or something like that, but just concentrate on the message, the information, and that's about it. Okay. A big symptom. What I, for example, have to manage is panic attacks, which is almost a stereotypical symptom of PTSD. When you suddenly begin to tremble and have cold sweats, and you're in this. There's this ancient Greek word stasis. Back then it meant civil war, and it describes perfectly what it feels like inside your mind. It feels like stasis. It feels like something that it feels like being frozen in a state of disarray and chaos. And obviously of extreme tension. You're just shaking and trembling, and all these symptoms of panic attacks that come with it. And I was always scared having these panic attacks, I felt very vulnerable and helpless when they came, and I began to be scared of having panic attacks, even in moments where I didn't have them. Yeah, just thinking about them, that they will come sooner or later, it gave me anxiety, and which is a little like a toxic, and not just a little, a toxic circle. Yeah, it can develop into a toxic circle you can't escape from emotionally. It's an emotional circle because basically it means you get an anxiety attack, panic attack. Excuse me if I don't completely use these terms 100% professionally, but I think you'll still be able to understand what I mean because I describe it. It basically means you get anxiety attacks because of panic attacks because of fear from having panic attacks. Yeah, and this is not such a great situation, yeah, because it's very hard to escape from them. But one day it actually made click. Some person told me I was seeking help for the trauma, yeah, psychologist, and she told me a panic attack is something that eventually subsides and that eventually will go away. And it sounds strange, but it blew my mind. I was so scared of these panic attacks. And this is what gave them power over me. Yeah, fear. This fear made myself helpless, defenseless. And suddenly I realized, yeah, she's right. She's right. These panic attacks, they won't stay there for forever. Yeah, they eventually subside. The emotions eventually, um, as much as they boil over in the moment, in the heat of the moment, they'll also go away, subside. Yeah. So it's not a situation, an emotional condition, not a situation, an emotional condition that won't stay there forever. Yeah. And it suddenly made click. I realized, yes, since then, yeah, panic attacks have completely lost their teeth. Even though I still get panic attacks in all day life, but they lost their teeth. Yeah, I'm just there and living through them, and I just I just let it happen and tell myself, okay, I'm not gonna die from them, and you won't either. Just wait. Basically, it's as simple as it sounds. Just wait. They will go away. And I don't know, listen to music or something that is. Sometimes it can help that I refocus or try to force my attention towards something that is not um, traumatizing, that is not triggering. It doesn't always succeed because when I'm really deep in the trauma, I'm not open to inputs from outside. You know, there's this eye movement therapy thing, and all these little tricks, squeezing a spiky ball, a hedgehog ball. I don't know if this is the proper English term, but you will understand what I mean. Um, it when I'm really deep over the low end, this won't help. This won't help. But still, eventually it subsides. So don't stress yourself out. It's such a it's such a valuable lesson I learned. Don't stress yourself out from panic attacks or actually from any symptom at all. Yeah, it's such a helpful thing, attitude to learn. Yeah. The symptom a lot of people with PTSD will suffer from. It might actually be a defining characteristic of PTSD. I'm not a professional, but I think it is a characteristic part, definition of PTSD are the stereotypical flashbacks. And, you know, I think when the memories come up, and they can come up plenty of times and with plenty of power, yeah, they hit me like a sledgehammer, and I just stop whatever I do when these symptoms come. This is my management strategy. Actually, I won't function at all when they come. I just stop. My brain grinds into a halt. Yeah, because it's just over. Um, it's working beyond capacity. Yeah, beyond 100%. Yeah, this is the definition of PTSD. It's a stress disorder. It means the brain is overloaded with stress, and this is happening when flashbacks arrive. Yeah, when these memories haunt you, and in my case, since the abuse began when I was a little child, and I never learned in an alternative situation where it was any different. My entire personality was. I just relatively recently realized that, as sad as it sounds, my entire personality was shaped by it. Yeah, and to be bombarded with flashbacks and these anxiety attacks and everything, that yeah, it basically becomes. But it always was the the life. Yeah, let's say it like this. And I haven't found a strategy that works there. Yeah. I actively, like a scientist, I always want to be a scientist. I actively try to experiment with constructive strategies that might work. And even though I haven't found a solution for these symptoms, it, I can still say something helpful for others. I think, at least potentially helpful. Different strategies. Yeah, just let get distracted or something like this. It's the same situation like with the anxiety attacks, panic attacks, which you can apply. Yeah. Um, so I have this. Yeah, it's almost. You're not supposed to think like this, but it's a little harder to fight against complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which is caused by long-term exposure to a traumatic event or a chain of traumatic events. And obviously, this is not going to recede so easily, but still there. A completely fine strategy is just to remember, okay, it's not going to be the end of the world. As much pain these flashbacks cause, they will not kill you. Yeah, and yeah, this. Yeah, even if I can't find a strategy to counteract them, to pull the teeth of from this symptom, the flashbacks. Yeah, I can still remind myself. Okay, it won't stay there forever. Yeah. Okay, the next one is going to come. Yes, um, the, they come. You know, for example, it accompanies me every waking moment that I have these memories, and since it was always like this, there's a different way to to feel about it, yeah. And as weird as it sounds, since I was robbed of the opportunity to know what it feels not to have such a situation, it is also not possible to know what I'm missing out on. Yeah, I cannot know how much better it feels not to have these being haunted by these flashbacks, and I try to instrumentalize this fact. Yeah, I'm aware of the negative implication, but I'm also aware. Okay, this can help me. I don't know how much better it feels without it. Yeah, so so I try to relax. Okay, let's just assume. Okay, it is not the end of the world. Yeah, I'm trying to build on it, and mm, yeah, some tremblings. They've actually become a little less in the last couple of years. Um, I think it's part of the symptoms of panic attacks or anxiety attacks that, yeah, it feels like ants run all over your body, this trembling, but it's not so visible from the outside. It's very subtle. Mm, yeah, and this is also a stereotypical symptom of PTSD. This constant, let's say, micro trembling, and what it is since you're in this state of in a war, turmoil. Mm, yeah, the mind is hypertensioned, under hypertension. Yeah, overloaded with stress, and this causes these physical symptoms of this micro trembling. It's not a technical term, but it's fitting so well because it's not a visible symptom. I think you might feel it when you place your hand on someone who's suffering it. Yeah, then you can feel it, but it's not. You're not shaking like someone who's freezing from cold, from hypothermia or something like this. Yeah, and what I wanted to say. Um, yeah, it's a physical symptom. So what's called psychosomatic. Yeah, it sounds always so bad, and then but it's actually a reasonable term for these. Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's caused by the psychological turmoil that is happening. Yeah, the flashbacks, the war in the brain, in the mind, and yeah, of course it can and often will cause physical symptoms, stress reactions. Yeah, this is the way. Uh, let's say it like this. I always try to be a scientist. Um, for me, this is something how I learned. as a child and teenager to prevail over the trauma is to be a scientist and understand what's happening with me, with my soul, with my body, mind, whatever you call it, in relation to this trauma. And I figured out it pulls the teeth of the trauma. Yeah, being the scientist, trying to understand what's happening with me and what to do, and yeah, just to look at it like someone who's observing a natural phenomenon, weird as it sounds. Yeah, sometimes I try to remind myself, even though it's painful to have these symptoms, it's always, if I ignore this fact, yeah, I'm allowed to feel pain because of this. Yeah, allow yourself to feel pain. Yeah, it's not the end of the world, and it's healthy to accept. Okay, I get trauma. Okay, um, but just it's, I don't know. I'm a curious person. Sometimes I try to think, okay, if I'd be a scientist and watch these symptoms, it's actually interesting to see how the mind reacts to trauma. Yeah, and yeah, this, I don't know, this attitude developed. This, I don't know, it's something that can ground me. I don't know, maybe it's a little depersonalization, which is questionable if it's good or bad, but it doesn't go overboard in my case. Yeah, depersonalization, where where you look at yourself from a outside perspective, because the trauma is so much, that the mind tries to escape, tries to shove the the pain in a corner of the brain and just look at it from the outside. Yeah, this is also this might be part of it. Maybe I don't fully understand myself there. Yeah, but it's still interesting how trauma works. Yeah, it's when you when it's your life basically to um, work on your survival. Yeah, sometimes you discover just that it's interesting, and you also learn from your own trauma. Yeah, and why not allow it? Yeah, it's it's like this. Yeah, and of course the ideal situation would be not to have trauma, but take, how to say, lean back a little. Don't stress out too much, because you already got this stress disorder. Yeah, so don't stress out with these symptoms. Yeah, take a back seat. Yeah, okay, you got a panic attack now, anxiety attack. Yeah, or fear of human contact breaks out or something like this. Yeah, whereas um, I often, when I go in public, um, for example, this is also a symptom. Um, I live under the constant fear that suddenly someone runs to me and sexually assaults me. This is probably not something. I think especially male victims tend to not admit these things, that they've been assaulted as children sexually. But I think especially there it's very important to de-tabooize this thing, yeah, and to signal to the outside world it is not something shameful as a boy to have been abused in a sexualized manner. It because you couldn't do anything. So why should you feel shame for it, for something that has been done against your will? It doesn't make sense to be ashamed. You're not less of a man because of it. Yeah, and this is where I'd like to break the constantly constantly confused proverbs to break the ice for this, especially for this. This is so important. I think girls or women, depending on age, depending on maturity, um, tend. It feels like this subjectively that female victims of these themes of sexual assault um, tend to be a little less um, blocked, a little less blocked with accepting might be the wrong word. Yeah, accepting. Who wants to accept this thing? It's hard to accept, but to say it, to name it, to give it a name. Yeah, just to say, I have been molested as a child. When I say this, I feel an emotional response. Yeah, it's it's not it's not nice or anything. It's painful, but this is what it is. But I feel when I deny it, when I try to suppress it, I lie to myself, and I would block my healing. Yeah? And I can only encourage you to don't be scared of these symptoms. Yeah? Don't be scared of that reality. Yeah? I think this is a great part of growing as a person, as a survivor, or to become a survivor, to just accept the horrible truth, to don't silver line it, yeah, and even as a boy or a man, just say it, because you have to think. You have to think. In abuser, we're talking about parental abuse, yeah. Parents as the criminals, as the evil counterpart, the criminal, the assaulter. The abuser wants you not to talk about it because they're scared. They're scared when you talk about it. Yeah? And when a man is too ashamed, I think it has to do with shame. Something that is very, fortunately, very alien to me. This is a very alien concept to me. Shame. Yeah, there's no shame in being having survived. Yeah. You had no saying in it. Why should you be ashamed? You have to think with a little arrogance. You're the something bad has been done to you, so you sit on the throne, and everybody else should shut up. Yeah, and why should you feel ashamed? Yeah, you shouldn't. Yeah, And as a boy, you're not less man, or a girl, you're not less a woman because these things happen. Uh, it's quite the opposite. The people who did these things to you, they are less human. I refuse. I refuse to accept, to allow myself to think of these people as human. For me, they're just monsters, creatures of evil in the shape of humans. This is my way of, I don't know, maybe it's a coping strategy. I don't know. Um, yeah, but this is my way to think about it. So why would I give these non-human creatures the the power to let myself be ashamed of things I had no saying in? You know, it doesn't make sense at all. Yeah, and the thing is, I don't know. With men, I'm not a very typical man, if that even exists. So I never had this peer pressure thing going on or trying to impress others. I give a damn. But I think this is something that unfortunately is a very dominant, very strong part of being a boy or man. You want to be strong and impressive and bullshit like this. You know, it is completely useless, meaningless. You know? It's so much worse as a survivor when you let yourself get manipulated by these toxic attitudes, by this toxic way of thinking. Yeah, this wrong understanding of manliness. Yeah, it's a completely messed up, wrong understanding of manliness. Yeah, it's actually not true manliness. Yeah. Um, the thing is, men tend to be like this. Yeah. Not everyone, but there's a big tendency. Let's be realistic. Yeah, strong and unapproachable, aloof and impressive. And if it's get if it gets even stupider, then it goes to the Greek letter manliness, alpha, sigma, or something. Yeah, this is useless. This is not applicable in real life. Yeah, it's actually quite idiotic, and it will stop you from succeeding. Yeah, it's something. These concept ideas of being a man, practically being emotionless, yeah, will block you from healing. Yeah, this is why it's so dangerous. Yeah, this is where um, I'm spreading out this subject here. Yeah. So I want to pave the way for you not to be scared of your emotions. It is okay to feel vulnerable. Every feeling is legitimate. Every feeling. There's no feeling that is embarrassing. There's no feeling you should be ashamed of. There's no feeling anybody has the right to ridicule you or anything. And when you come from this corner where you, unfortunately, we're all human, we're all not perfect, but where you have let yourself get manipulated by this wrong, idea of masculinity, um, this cold, aloof, almost match all these things. Yeah, um, you step aside and think a little. The friends you surround with. Try to picture the situation. The friends you surround yourself with. The social circle. If just play through the scenario. If you admit, hey buddy, yeah, you're my best friend, yeah. We're the cold and we behave like strong and macho and impressive dudes. But to be honest, this happened to me as a child. So, and if you play this scenario through and you think your best friend or your friends would react in a negative way, and you're pretty sure about it, I don't know. It shouldn't be this way. But maybe you have a false conception about your friends and just they might be nicer than you think, and you would admit to them, not admit, admittal sounds so weird. You tell them your life story or this part of your life story. They might react much more positively. They might open up themselves. Child abuse is something that is extremely common. It's scarily common, and it's one of the most hidden forms of abuse, child abuse, one of the most widespread forms of crime against humanity that exists. So it might just as well happen that your friend, when you opens up himself or supports you, yeah. And if not, just throw him away, like the garbage he is. No true friend will ever ridicule you for having been treated this way by your parents as a child. No true friends. And it's just a convenient possibility if someone reacts like an idiot just to cut him out of your life, because actually you don't need people like this in your life, and just find true friends. So there is no reasonable situation where you need to try to be this strong, perfect, impressive, mega dude, giga chat. I don't know. It doesn't. There's no such situation. Just vulnerability is something we all as human beings possess. Every human being is not perfect, not how to say, not what's the name? Invincible. As, so I think it's a very healthy thing as a man to admit you're not invincible. You don't need to be. Yeah? And you don't need to impress anybody. Yeah? Maybe everybody would like to be a superhero and would like to be invincible and something like this, but don't lie to yourself. Yeah, you don't need to. It worsens the trauma. It blocks you from healing. No toxic masculinity. Nobody needs it. Yeah. And I know toxic masculinity is a wording that is very controversial. But I mean, there's these attitudes, the idea you're a man and you need to be a robot, an emotionless robot who's always strong and macho and the greatest guy, and everyone fears you. So there, it's like there's a lot of men that think they gotta be feared. They gotta be feared. And how sick it is to think like this. Yeah? Mm. Accept a little vulnerability, yeah. Accept your feelings. It's the wisest thing you can do as a man in modern society. Accept your feelings. Accept your vulnerability. Yeah, and yeah, this is my very heartfelt message, especially for male survivors of child abuse. Yeah. Don't stop yourself from healing, not for these idiotic reasons, not for any reason. Yeah. Um, so no man can allow himself, should allow himself to fall in this emotionless trap, this trap of coldness, yeah, and especially not as a survivor. Just it won't end being good for you. I promise you that it won't end well. Um, so yeah, anchorings. Yes, I. Over the course of the as the time passes by, over the decades, after I how to say, after I escaped, I freed myself from the situation. I developed different strategies to anchor myself. Yeah, and this is a very important point, and probably if you go to psychologists, it's basically the same. It's a big part of trauma healing is anchor yourself in the world in a positive way. And what I found for myself as a child and teenager, where I didn't even know that I was traumatized, nobody told me. Yeah, and of course I'm not super old. When I was a child, there was already something like Weißer Ring, yeah, this association for victims, but I didn't know, and nobody talked about it. And a preteen child, there was no internet as far as I know. We had no computer. We didn't even have a telephone. So, but somehow my mind tried to find ways to anchor myself in reality. And for example, I can give you a lot of examples, which I think might be very helpful for you. I'm convinced these examples work very well, and they are very diverse examples. So there's a good chance for you to find in this very incomplete list something that works best for you. Some other things maybe don't work so well for you. So just leave them out. Just try to think like a construction worker, someone who builds something for yourself actively, not passively, actively. Yeah, choose and experiment like a scientist. Yeah, hobbies, of course. It's the first thing. I think there's a big tendency or danger, let's say danger, I don't know the statistical probability, but a very real danger that a victim of abuse, of parental abuse, child abuse, whatever, is at some point or the other withdraws, especially as a preteen child. I, for example, withdrew massively from my environment. I had no friends, and just I completely isolated myself. When I didn't understand what was going on, as a child, you don't understand. This is not good, but you withdraw. It's a very common thing to fight against, this withdrawal. And this is also the first that an outside person can can see something's something's going wrong. Yeah, usually a child, where in a constructive, in a healthy, positive environment, parental household, doesn't withdraw. It's a very strong signal that something is going wrong. And even if you who watches this video is not a survivor, uh, if you see a child, a preteen child, withdrawing and being all moody and snippy or something like this, it's a sign. It's a very strong sign. A very strong sign. Yeah. A child can have a moody day. A parent gave a rule the child doesn't like. I'm not talking about that. But if it's a baseline, and you don't even see a child being happy or something like this, it is. It sounds weird, but I promise you, this child is suffering. There's something going very, very wrong in the child's life. Yeah, so this hobbies are the opposite of withdrawal, the counteraction. Yeah, and there are so many great hobbies out there. Some, and I don't know, it can be anything. Yeah, just do it. Don't think too much about it. Just be curious. The basic curiousness can have suffered after surviving such things, but just be curious, and just try out something. There are also a lot of hobbies, if it needs to be, without other people. I don't know, stamp collecting, if it's still a thing, or if, I don't know, going into nature is very healing, actually. Yeah. Um, Finding birds or watching animals. I like to watch animals. Yeah, it gives me some idea of peace, of just breathe in the air in nature. It's a completely different quality, and I don't know what it gives me is a sense of connection, and I feel connected with the world when I'm in nature. Something sounds a little hippie-like, but you actually, it's a very, very strong feeling, a very plastic feeling. Yeah, you see all the things going around, animals and plants and everything, and it's so much different from the nightmares of childhood, and and you realize, okay, there is something else. Yeah, not the entire world, not the entire reality is as horrific as your childhood has been. Yeah, and so what it gives me and might give you is a sense of positivity, a sense of, okay, there is something that feels right, that feels healthy, yeah. A world where abuse is not part of it, yeah. So nature is something very honest. Yeah, animals kill each other, okay, but somehow, really, it's still something very honest. It sounds weird, but there's no lying and mischievousy betrayal or something. It's just animals do it because they need to live. It's the circle of life. So all this treachery humans are capable of is not part of nature. And this is what grounds me. Yeah, this view on another part of reality that is not as negative, yeah. And or kayaking or archery or sword fighting or I don't like the word fight, but it depends how you interpret it. Yeah, fighting not in the sense of conflict, but in the sense of fighting for your growth. Yeah. This is the way I like the word fight. Yeah. Fight for growth. Yeah, not in a conflict way. Yeah, what helped me greatly, especially this is especially directed at persons where that suffered from sexualized forms of violence, that usually there tends to be a lot of people who suffered from this that tend to feel uncomfortable with their own body. I, for example, if I cannot, there are ways I cannot move my body, weird as it sounds, because it reminds me of these things that have been done to me as a child, or there are certain ways I have to take a shower or take a bath. I cannot. Yeah, maybe for some people it's embarrassing to talk about it, but I want to open up this. Embarrassment is useless, does not matter. Yeah, I open the path for you. So if someone watches this video and laughs about it, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant for me. Yeah, it won't hurt me. I cannot touch every part of my body because of this abuse, which is probably very understandable. And so I develop strategies to counteract it. Yeah, and now I'm coming. This is the small backstory. Now I'm coming to the solution. Some many moons ago, some police officer gave this idea to me. What about martial arts or the gym? The lady, she said, maybe this helps you to feel more comfortable in your own body. And I let that sink, and I said to myself, I never thought about it, Martial arts and the gym, it was something I naively always somehow, how to say, interpreted as maybe the people there toxic or hostile or aggressive or something like this. Don't get me wrong, here in Germany, there are actually there's this trend where some martial arts, competitive martial arts, karate, mainly karate and judo. Um, there are quite some clubs from what's the name, from Nazis, neo-Nazi clubs, and they learn martial arts to beat up their perceived enemies. This narrow-minded mentality, and so this was what I had in mind, because I come from a part of Germany where there's some more Nazis on the street than in some other parts. Yeah, so that was something people were aware of. Yeah, but it doesn't have to be like this, and obviously not every club is like this. Yeah, and I actually found a very, let's say, gentle or friendly a very unusual martial arts club. Yeah, so there was no competition. I hate competition with gusto. I hate it. Yeah, because it's this toxic way of thinking. I'm better than you and something. I hate it with gusto. And I chose a martial arts where there's no competition. Yeah. So, and you know, I knew there were some moments where I reached limits. Yeah, these movements were, yeah, you would say, which were triggering. Yeah, and but it's just like that. You push your limits. You grow. You learn. Okay, now I have these flashbacks, but you learn to associate them with something not negative. Yeah, you learn. Okay, I have these flashbacks, but nothing bad is happening right now. Yeah, and in the ideal situation, the flashbacks eventually won't come when you perform these movements. Yeah, or yeah. So you push your limits. You grow. Let's say it like this. You grow. And also with the gym. Yeah. Um, just these. You learn to feel your own body. I hated it. I hated it, and I still struggle with it. Yeah, it's um I'm not perfect. I did not succeed fully in dissolving the trauma, and but I don't stress myself out, and you shouldn't either. It it probably won't happen. We're talking about things that are not understandable with the human mind. Yeah, unspeakable eldritchian things. Yeah, so the healing process will accompany you for the rest of your life, but there will still be growth, progress, if you allow progress. If you allow failure, sometimes things don't work out the way they should be. Yeah, and in the gym, I learned to feel my body, to accept this feeling. I have a body because it might sound strange for people who didn't go through these things, but I tried to. I didn't want to feel my body. I didn't want to accept it. Yeah. Um, But there I learned, okay, nothing bad is happening, yeah, and I learned physics, yeah, how muscles work and something like this, and it is giving me a sense of feeling more comfortable in my own skin. Is something that I was always greatly missing. Direly, I say, because I was so against it. Um, yeah, but then curiosity and the scientist in me was just so much stronger, and I wanted to know: does it help? Yeah, why not? And hobbies, music, of course, music. You don't have to be an abusive either to know music is a good way. It activates endorphins. Yeah, everybody knows it. Um, when you hear sad music, you get sad. When you hear happy music, you get happy. When you listen to aggressive music, which I never do that. I intentionally refuse to listen to aggressive music. It doesn't give me satisfaction. Uh, because I have a mission. Yeah, music is supposed to alleviate the symptoms and not drive me into them. Yeah, and music is so helpful. I listen to everything, be it classical music, opera, 80s music of everybody likes 80s music. And you can ask a teenager now who didn't even live before 2000. He or she will find a lot of 80 music, 80s songs, which they like. It always works, yeah. Or any time period. Just listen to something you like. What gives you a feeling of positivity and what lends you energy. Yes, it's so powerful. Music. It's so powerful. I cannot even exaggerate it. Yeah, overestimate it. Yeah, I use it to my advantage. Yeah, let a playlist play all day long. And that's it. Yeah, yeah. So when I'm hit by panic attacks or flashbacks, which get stronger, sometimes they get stronger than usual. I just hear I select songs that are more engaging or it's a fancy word, invigorating. Yeah, so songs you would probably dance to or something like this. Very activating songs. Yeah, distracting songs. Yeah, and it works. Yeah, just use it to your advantage. Yeah, that's. I was very it was music was very alien to me until I was an adult. Actually, I never listened to music before I became an adult. Yeah, and obviously I had different construction sites to tend to. Yeah, so they never I had no capacity free to think about music so much. And yeah, and in the end, I wished I had begun earlier to be interested with it, to be interested in it. And yeah, music, instruments. Yeah, now I already told you, I was so non-musical. I never hit a note, and I was a musical. I was a musical. anti-musical, and not anti, but it wasn't part of my life. And as an adult, in my early 20s, I realized I was never interested in arts or you know, I was a very strict teenager. Yeah, I was the opposite of the stereotypical teenager. I was extremely strict to myself. I did not allow myself to make mistakes. And this was my strategy to, how to say, to fill the void that I didn't have figures, parental role models. Yeah, I had to fill in this void myself. There was nobody to lean to who would be a parental figure. Yeah. So I was very strict with myself, and as an early adult in my early 20s, I realized I was too strict with myself. I didn't allow myself the free spiritedness, yeah, arts, music, expression of emotions. I always suffered. Not, I try to reframe it in a less negative sounding way. I always had this challenge that I could not and still can't always how to say, my face is looks bland or expressionless. It's become better, but there were times where my face looked like a stone, like a rock, like cast in iron, and to an extent where people got scared of me. I didn't do anything, but it was just, you know, children and teenagers can be cruel sometimes. Children not so much, but teenagers, and they didn't know why I was like this. You don't run around and think, okay, this person might have survived bad things. Yeah, usually a teenager doesn't have this awareness or thinks about it. It's why. So, and I was too young to understand why I was so emotionless. I always asked myself, question myself. It gnawed on my confidence, because it was very isolating. Yeah, this being so expressionless. Yeah, it's a symptom that is there. Yeah, this you look like a robot, and it sometimes felt like a robot. Yeah, yeah. But in reality, it's quite the opposite. It's because there are too much emotion, too many emotions, and too much that it blocks the pipeline between the brain and the facial muscles. It literally blocks this pipeline. It's just you inside your brain. It's like this inside your brain. You're screaming. You're going up the walls. You're so filled with extreme forms of emotion. You know, like insane amounts of emotions. Yeah, too much to express. Yeah, and from the outside, it looks like you don't have any emotions at all. Yeah, and this then I realized I was blocking myself with looking for ways to express myself in different ways, not just not just being someone very scientific, someone very mathematic. Yeah, um, there was, I don't know, there was something emotional missing in my life. So I tended to hobbies that have an emotional component. I tried pottery and poetry actually also, and I don't know. I sewed my own clothes. Okay, it's not a super emotional hobby, but I try to find ways to express myself and drawing. Yeah, I try to draw paintings of sunsets or something like this. And a musical instrument. Yeah, no way. Made such a big detour. I wanted to talk about musical instruments. Yeah, since I realized I was so unemotional and unmusical, I said to myself, this should be especially a reason to learn a musical instrument. So I did, just out of spite. Let's say it like that. Um, yeah, and I learned a musical instrument and tried to get a feeling, for the emotions of a song, yeah, or what my emotional associations to a song are. And actually, it's like that. The second you emotionally connect to a song you're playing or you're singing along to, you make less mistakes. You have this moment where you stress out. It's you you behave like it's a task to do, but the second you feel it, it flows more. And this is the point where you want to get. Then you know you're expressing actual emotions. It's not just a task to do. And that was a very beautiful experience. Yeah. Music, learning a musical instrument is especially as a survivor of child abuse. It's it's a beautiful way, a poetic way to oppose negativity. Um, the TV, yes, the TV. Um, I'm a big user of background. How to say background bombardment sounds so brutal. Background white noise generation. Yeah. I don't know. I'll I switch on the TV and I don't necessarily let documentaries run there. Sometimes I don't know. Let's let it be some cartoons or something I wouldn't necessarily enjoy as an adult because the stories are just too simple. Yeah, not an avid cartoon. I actually there are some cartoons I enjoy, yeah, where the storytelling is more complex, but usually I'm just using it as a leverage um, by creating background noises that my mind associates with positivity, with an uplifting environment. In these cartoons, which are usually obviously aimed at children, they usually have an uplifting character, yeah, an uplifting feel to them, and yeah, you have these funny noises or funny sounds and stuff, something like this, and these as background noises. Yeah, I think, I believe, or at least I tried out, um, can counteract um, the trauma from slipping into the deeper end. And yeah, you just, I don't know, you counteract, you block, maybe not block, but you break. It's like a break, yeah. You break your fall. Yeah, it's like a small parachute. Yeah, and that's why I like to use the theory. Yeah, just have some background noise generation. Yeah, silence sometimes feels like an enemy. Uh, yeah, or I don't know. Since I talked about background noise generation, I realized you might have experienced this as well. That the sound of a small stream or a waterfall or waves rolling on the beach have very strong and very soothing characteristics or effects. Let's say effects, and or looking at a campfire. I don't know. Somehow it has some. It eases the pain to watch a campfire. Yeah, this. I don't know why it's like this. Maybe something primordial, primal, like very deep rooted, psychological. Yeah. Fire is something nurturing. Yeah, is a allegory, metaphor for life. I don't know if I ever interpret too much into it, but it feels soothing just to stare in a campfire. You know? And when I do this for an hour, the trauma subsides. It got weaker. Yeah, the monster has shrunk into a manageable size. Sometimes I jerk like this with the head. Excuse me. It's I feel it. It's yeah. It's 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 happened from this my childhood was very violent, so I actually have some uh, damage, and sometimes and when you see this video, sometimes I jerk like this or like this. It's I have this because I my head got almost smashed in as and since then I have these okay, now the now it hits me like a sledgehammer. The flashbacks. It, oh man, it is. Let's continue. Everywhere. let's continue. I try to be strong. Yeah, it's. I just try to do this video. Background noise. Campfire water. Yeah, the social component. The social component. This is actually a very, probably the most important point of the entire video now, of this video. The social component. You have to realize. Why didn't I talk about it at the beginning of the video? It's so extremely. It's central. It's central. Being abused by your parents as a child. It doesn't even matter what age technically, but having survived these things. What does that mean? Think about it. It means you don't have parents. I mean, they're forfeited their duties as parents, and they're forfeited their usefulness. You have to think a little arrogantly. They forfeited their usefulness for you as a role model, obviously. I mean, what can you learn from a person who does these horrible things to you as a child? They're useless. So you don't have parents in this sense, in the social sense. That means you're lacking the core of a support system. If you're lucky, you got siblings. The closer related you are to another innocent person, the better for the support system you still have. But it can be an aunt, an uncle, a grandma, a grandfather, things like this. Yeah, sometimes the situation can be a little more, let's say, complicated, or how to say, less fertile to find a support system. For example, in my case, there was no one in the surrounding family because the aunts and they didn't know of the abuse. One day I actually told the sister of my father, my aunt, that my father was a pedophile who sexually, and saw a reaction which wished was different. Ignorance, maybe a very great wish to ignore it, what I just said. The world is shiny, sunny, and they're still, and not just her, they're still mad with this person like he's the greatest guy in the world. And you can imagine when you see this happen, how it feels horrible. It feels horrible. And it means there wouldn't be they couldn't be part of a support system because of that. Yeah, I get I would have been constantly reminded of them not 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 drawing consequences. Yeah, not uh, yeah, like this. Let's not make it too complicated. And yeah, so there was no possible way for the family to, for the extended family to be there. Yeah. And so, what chances you have in these extreme situations? Friendship, of course. Yeah. Basically, what it means is you build yourself a support system. It sounds like Lego, but it's like that. You, I don't know. It's you. Where's the window? Mm, yeah, you try to find people you can connect with, who are nurturing, who are supportive, positive. Yeah. But I warn every survivor that friends are not, don't exist to be a trauma dump. They don't exist to be your doctor, your nurse. They don't deserve to be abused like this. This would just be another form of abuse. This is not what friendship is for. If you need a psychologist and you cannot treat your own trauma or something like this, I advise you, anyways, to find a psychologist because you learn so many cool tricks. Yeah, and of course, in theory, you could treat your own trauma and with a lot of understanding, but it takes more time doing it yourself, learning it by yourself instead of going to a professional person. Why would you waste your time, your lifetime, to invent the wheel anew? Yeah. So yeah, think like yeah, like the owner of a company. Be efficient. You know, it's not efficient not to go to a psychologist. You know? The worst case scenario that one psychologist isn't worth the money, but then you can go to another one. Yeah, like this. Fortunately, not every survivor of abuse is necessarily deeply traumatized. Um, yeah, so every person reacts to these things differently. Yeah, we're all different people. Yeah. So yeah, um, but but yeah, friendship. Yeah, just find nurturing, positive friendships. Um, I think what I learned is that I connect best with other survivors of bad things, but I like to give a warning at this point because sometimes when an abuse survivor meets another abuse survivor, it's just they, how to say, mm, they strengthen, they worsen the trauma because they bombard each other with trauma. Yeah, so you gotta consciously analyze, is this good for me or the other person? Yeah, even if it's good for you, if it's not good for the other person, you should be empathetic enough to draw the line, explain the situation. I think I feel I heard you with my trauma. we should not meet anymore. It's better for us not to meet and just find someone else who's not affected by it. Yeah, and yeah, but I found most of the time it feels very connecting. You have this shared experience. It's something you share, you connect with on a much deeper level than you'll ever connect with anyone else. It does not mean that friendships with people who are not survivors is less filled with quality. This is not what I meant, but in the specific case of the understanding of what you went through, I mean, this will happen on a much more sophisticated level with another survivor of trauma. And actually, it doesn't even matter if this person is a survivor of child abuse or, for example, of war. What I found out when I talk with, when I have conversations with the war veterans, like many years ago, it was more common to meet World War II veterans or something like this, and I found out that there's this connecting component, even though the cause of trauma obviously is very different, but the trauma itself is very similar. Yeah, and it's something that actually impressed me. Yeah, that there was this much deeper emotional connection, mutual connection. Yeah, and just to share each other's stories. And what I find, it grounds me greatly to have this exchange or the to realize there are others like me and they're also still alive. So I'm not the only one. It might sound sad, of course, but I'm not the only one who went through these things. I'm not alone. And it gives me strength. Yeah. So, and I'm sure it gives strength to other survivors as well, to know there are others with bad stories. And I like to read about stories of survival of extreme situations, not necessarily exclusively parental abuse, but this is something obviously I connect to most because of my own experiences. Yeah, I don't know. There's some grounding quality to it. Yeah, just to read about other children's sometimes not even survival. Yeah, just to read about stories, what other children went through. Sometimes they weren't lucky enough to survive, but it grounds me. It grounds me, and it feels a little like I pay others, other people, other victims of child abuse respect if I know their story. Yeah, and they are very, very touching stories, and I, to and it helps me to fight my trauma, to reason with my trauma, um, mm, to understand what was happening to me as a child. Yeah, Um, this is something I had to learn on my own because I didn't consciously know that something that I had this trauma. So when I, when I was a teenager and I had my first laptop and I spent so much time doing research about child abuse and other teenagers that they, they did other things with the internet. But I was so so thirsty. That's a perfect word. Thirsty to understand what was happening to me. Yeah, and for example, I struggled a lot of for a long time to with these these incestual sexual abuse. And I guess I'm still struggling. Those are not words that come easy over the lips, and and to read stories, like these. Yeah, there are some infamous. It's stereotypically uh, called incest clan because it's multi-generational and they're children of ancestral abuse situations, which in my case it's not an intergenerational. Usually the victim is female in these specific cases. When it comes to a clan, an ancestral clan, it's usually yeah, it's about birth. The birth, a child is the result of incestual rape. It is what it is. It's usually not consent. It cannot even be consensual. There's always this power imbalance. This and and the help, but it's still, even if the situation is not one to one. Every case is different. Help me as a well, victim. It is what it is. It helps. It somehow, I don't know. I don't know why it does help. I don't know why it helps, but it helps me a little to sort out my feelings. I have this confusion I had as a child and teenager where I didn't understand what was done to me as something negative, to say it in very neutral words. I definitely could use stronger words, believe me, but let's keep it simple. Yeah, and reading these stories, yeah. This was the way I actually learned that what happened to me is not good. Yeah, you can read on let it be Wikipedia or something, how the cases developed and how it came to it and how it ended, yeah, how the investigation started, how it became public, or how law enforcement got involved, and court cases, and that's how I learned. Okay, it's a bad thing. Yeah, where I began to shape um, as a young teen, shape an understanding. Yeah, to yeah. So these I'm still yeah these it won't go away. I mean it accompanies you. I think it accompanies you for the rest of your life. Let's not lie. I mean, how are you gonna erase these things from my mind? And it's not going to happen. Yeah, I'm still, yeah, so many wild emotions come up, extreme emotions. So they're probably never gonna be sorted out. It's just so much pain, physical pain. This was supposed to be a positive video. Well, yeah, let me catch myself. It, well, it hurts, and you cannot turn back time. Yeah, and this is why I do these dumb videos. Which probably a lot of people are going to make fun of. I don't know. I don't know. They might be cringy. I don't know. They're unsorted. They're chaotic, and but somehow I have the desire to reach out to the world, yeah, and maybe I don't know, maybe in a couple of years, maybe someone is gonna watch it for the first time. It's I don't know, but maybe if I can help just one person out there who ran through these things is trying to make sense of it, you know, and is trying to yeah, trying to live despite what the own parents did to this person. Yeah. If I can only help just one single person, just as many as possible. And it's, I don't know, maybe 99% of the videos are going to be not so helpful, but maybe if it's just one tiny thing that can be helpful, it was worth it was worth to go through this pain to talk about it. It's yeah, this would be my personal wish, yeah. And yeah, maybe my situation is an ideal case to give hope. I mean, yeah, there were these bad things. I mean, yeah, aside from all these other things, yeah, even having your own flesh and blood tries to kill you because they don't want you. Just abused and being garbage for them. As a child, to I don't even know how I managed to survive. To be honest, I don't know, but I have. And actually, my abuser is dead now. Don't get scared. I wasn't involved in it. He just lived as filthy as his mind was. And now I am alive. And he's dead. And he tried it to be the other way around. Yeah. And so it, every morning I wake up, I think about that, and I realize I'm still alive. Somehow I'm still alive. It's actually why I never get these bad depressions. Because I know I can be lucky to still be alive. So there's a lot of people who went through these things, they develop suicidal thoughts, which I never had. And but it's just natural, it's human, yeah. And you gotta. That's why I insist so much to realize this is not your fault. You have to see yourself on a pedestal, on a throne, because that's where you belong, yeah. It's you have to understand you are worth it, yeah. And yeah, this is how it's supposed to be. You have to be worth it. Yeah, it's not your fault. Yeah, it's sometimes parents are not parents. Yeah? Sometimes they are the worst enemies you'll ever have in your life. Uh, who fight against your survival. You don't want you to survive. Yeah, who want. Yeah, let's not make it too complicated. It is like that. And it means that you deserve so much more, even, to live, to exist, despite this. Yeah. You're innocent. Yeah, it's sadly. There are a lot of people who are like this. You know, a lot of people. I wish I could say it's an extreme situation, but there are a lot of children suffering, and not everybody is gonna make it. It's yeah, and if you survived enough to watch this cringy video, this unprofessional video, it means you did survive. Yeah. Every I don't necessarily enjoy the life I have, but I enjoy myself actually in the sense of I know I didn't hurt anybody. I didn't do anything to deserve this. It's just it wasn't my fault. I was a child. I was a baby. Yeah. It's why should I feel have, of course, trauma means feeling bad. But why should I intentionally make myself feel bad for it? Why should I um, think bad about myself for things I didn't do, for things I had no saying? Yeah, it feels like I would just give so much more power to evil, to actual evil, if I'd allow myself to have these thoughts. I I know it can be difficult sometimes to have this grounding. You know, I don't know. It's a nice idea to think about it like grounding. Yeah, to have you both your feet on the ground. Yeah, you are worth it. I learned this the hardest way. You are worth it. You know, when I developed this. When I was a child, I began drawing these horrible imagery of self harm, actually, and a lot of pictures with extreme violence. As a preteen child, I had copious amounts of uh, these DIN A3 drawing sheets of paper we have here in Germany, filled with violence, with unspeakable violence, with blood, self-harm. And fortunately, imagine that a preteen child drawing images of self-harm. Do I need to say anything? Do I need to say anything else? Yeah, and yeah, because I, as a child, I felt so worthless. Yeah, I felt so worthless. Yeah, I break this wall for you. It's it's embarrassing. A lot of people are going to make fun of it. Might, I don't know. I'm not a clairvoyant, but might. But it doesn't matter. It's it has to be spoken out. It has to be thematized. It has to be spoken about. I use my example so that you don't need to go through all the pain I had to go through. Yeah, and from um, this, and then I learned I'm worth it. Yeah, the this idea, I, ideation of self harm as a child. That this should not be it. I felt I deserve more. Why should I give the power to the abuser to make myself hate me? Why should I be like this? Yeah? Why should I give this power to evil? Yeah? It sounds philosophical, but it is like this. Yeah, self. Yeah, this At the moment you begin to hate yourself as a child, it's then evil has won. Evil has won when you hate yourself for things that have been done to you because you have been hurt. And you don't deserve this. Take my example. Grow. It's, yeah, you're the victim. Yeah, I'm addressing this to other survivors. Yeah? You are the survivor. Let's say it like this. Sounds a little nicer. You belong on the throne. Yeah, on the golden throne, way up there. Yeah, and what happened to you is down there in the dirt, below your feet. And that's the mindset you have to create. You're worth happiness. You're worth happiness. Yeah, and yes, it is painful to live with these things. Yeah, it's I know. Yeah, it's I carry this pain every day of my life. It is like this, but it shouldn't define you. Yeah? And it shouldn't mean that you should sink or give up on yourself or sink in hopelessness. Yeah? Always think about it. Think with a little tablespoon full of spite. Yeah? Evil doesn't deserve this victory. Evil doesn't deserve this victory. Yeah? Yeah? Don't give in so much. Don't give them this victory. Yeah? Be spiteful. Yeah? Yeah, this is how I build my strength. Yeah? A tablespoon of spitefulness. Yeah? I'm too spiteful to let evil have this victory. Yeah. It's not going to happen. There'll always be these effects and everything, but don't let that shape who you are. I said at the beginning of this video, god damn, I'm talking 2 hours now. At the beginning of this video, that you have to think like a construction worker or a scientist or someone who actively shapes something. You know? And this is how you have to think about your mind. You shape your mind, you shape your own personality. You have to think like this. Don't be deterministic. Deterministic means you're not more than the sum of your elements, the sum of your parts. It means you let yourself get shaped by your environment without any cognitive participation. A lot of people live like this, but you can never choose this path. You have to actively shape your own personality, your own mind. And when you find something you don't like, yeah, you rip it out and replace it with something you like. You like to expand. Yeah, you like to add to your personality. Yeah, it sounds like Lego. Yeah, for some people it might sound weird and sound impossible and like a strange concept. But it actually works. It actually works. The moment you understand you can actively shape your own personality and actively shape your own mind, being a mind bender, you actually won the battle. You actually won the battle. You have grown beyond the abuse. Yeah, you decide every day. Yeah, you think about what's something you can improve on yourself, personal growth. Yeah, this is good for anyone, yeah, independent of abuse. Yeah, and but so much more important for people with this backstory. Yeah, because you're gonna need it. Otherwise, you sink into a spiral you can't escape from. You have to actively shape your own destiny. Yeah, destiny is a very charged word and very poetic word, and for some might sound a little over the top. Yeah, but let it be that way. It is an actually fitting word. And for most people, destiny is something that passively happens to them. Yeah, I don't know, randomly finding the love of your life, it was destiny. You shape actively your own destiny. That's when you understand that you crack the secret. You crack the secret. Yeah. Yeah. That's when you will win. There's internalize this. Actively question anything. Yeah. Build your own destiny, build your own personality. Ask yourself who you are and what you want to be. Those two, the great questions of life, actually. Who you are and what you want. Yeah. Be active. Don't be a feather that is washed around by the waves. Be an active helmsman. Be an active helmsman.